Welcome back to episode 12 of TML Weekly, as always presented by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Bar and Grill. Today, just John and I. Jan is some in-laws, and Wi-Fi connection there isn't the greatest. So it's just the two of us running the show today. And start off. John, how's it going?
Not too bad, brother. How was you had a good Christmas, New Year's, and all that good jazz?
Yep. It was good.
Fantastic.
That's relaxing. So I think we'll just jump in quickly to the World Juniors. This morning, Canada was eliminated in the quarterfinals by Czechia. Any thoughts on the tournament?
So, listen, overall on the tournament, frankly, I thought, I didn't think going out in the quarterfinals. I didn't see us there. I saw us get knocked out in the semis. But before everybody loses their marbles, we've got 4 or 5 players playing in the NHL. Bedard and a few other guys who could be on this team, and we would win this tournament hands down. So I'm not losing. I'm not losing my shirt. There's not a crisis of Canadian hockey. Like, we don't have to have an inquest. The government doesn't need to be involved. We're going to be okay. Our best players are playing in the best league in the world. So I'm a little okay with that. From that end, you'd like to see us get a little bit better, go a little bit further. But it is what it is. Sweden looked good. States look good.
Yep.
Apparently the Czechs look good. Who knew?
Yeah, they're always good. They're always a sneaky good team. I was a little nervous just coming to that game, just knowing how Czechia played us last year, beat us in the first game, and took us overtime in the gold medal game. But
I was gonna say they were in the final last year, so everybody's like, it's a major upset. I mean, Czechs are pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. And you can't win every year. We've had 2 in a row now, so might as well just win on home soil next year, back in Ottawa.
Love it.
And
we'll give them this one. We'll see you next year, boys. What matters?
Okay. So,
what did you think about? Sorry, I was just gonna say, what did you think about the couple of buds that we had out there, Minton and Cowan?
Yeah, Cowan was he was on more of like a sheltered, limited role, so he didn't get to see him too much tonight. He looked pretty noticeable today. I think he had an assist on the first goal. Overall, like not the greatest performance by either of them. Minton, captain, obviously, but I think he got taken off the top power play and maybe the top line. I'm not too sure. They juggled it around a lot. They pulled a Shell and Keefe. The lines went down.
No wonder we lost in the playoffs.
Yeah, first round. Yeah, but overall, I'm sure they both wish they played a little bit better. But
I was a little listen. I think it's great that Minton got the nod. I think it's fantastic. It's a huge compliment to him.
Mm-hmm.
Being a guy from where he was in his draft year, coming out, I think he was playing third line, checking role. He was kind of demoted at one point in time, and the coach kind of said, "Be what I need you to be, and you'll be okay." And instead of being a bit of a suck and taking it on the chin, he at the time was just like, "I'm going to be the best third line guy I can be to contribute," and worked his way back.
Yeah.
And there he is, and he shows up to camp with us, and he has a fantastic camp. Goes back down, captains the junior. Like, I think there's a lot. While it might not have been the best look for him in the juniors, I still think there's a lot to like.
Yeah,
with
sure.
I still think there's a lot to like.
I think he's good because he's gonna go into the role that we need him to play, rather than trying to be like the best player on the team. He kind of knows that he's going to be more of like a third line, middle six, two-way forward.
But and listen, here's something that I think is just a thought. Okay, my wife says this all the time. If you watch Boston play, at the end of the game, whether it's Swayman or Net or Allmark or whoever, they do this whole thing at the end of the game where they're tapping helmets and everybody's on the ice, and you can tell that those guys are a team, and they're doing it for each other. And whoever's in net, they're with it. The guys on the bench are all like, it's very team oriented. If you see us play, we're very individualized. We are top 4 guys, a bunch of other people, defensemen, Morgan Riley, and a bunch of other guys, the goaltending.
Yeah.
Who the hell knows? And I go back to when we down last year in the playoffs when Shen and Riley came, and the guys weren't going out for dinner with each other, and there was no real team cohesiveness. And I look at a guy like Minton who's coming up. There's a young guy who is a team guy, and I really, really think the one thing that we don't have a lot of right now is team guys. We got a lot of great talent. We got great talent. I don't know that we have a great team. If you follow my logic there.
Yeah. That's why I think Tree Living brought Reeves in for that purpose, to bring the boys together. That's what Reeves talked about a lot when he first signed here and he's being interviewed, talking about like being a good locker room guy, bringing the team together. Yeah. So I think they put a lot of emphasis on that this season.
It hasn't worked out with Reeves so far, and fair enough.
Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Guys could love him behind the scees, and he could still be going to practice every day. And
I mean, by all accounts, every room he's ever been in, whether it was the Rangers or Minnesota, he is the guys rave about him. You can go around the league, aside from guys he's knocked out, nobody has a bad thing to say about Ryan Reeves.
Yeah.
Right. He's known as a guy around the league who's just a good dude all the way around. It was interesting. It was funny that we bring up Reeves. I was looking at this afternoon, just on a lark. I was looking up Kirill Kaprizov's numbers this year, because I remember everybody saying, he didn't make a difference on that team and blah blah blah. So the last 2 years with Reeves, Kirill Kaprizov 47 goals and 40 goals. Kirill Kaprizov this year is 12 goals.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you definitely see the drop. Obviously, they had a coaching change, and there's other changes that happened too. And
but there's a difference when all of a sudden you can go at that top guy now.
Yeah.
And there's no repercussions.
Yeah. They still got Maroon and Foligno, but still Reeves is the top tier guy. So.
But let's be honest. If you've got to fight Pat Maroon or you've got to fight Nick Foligno, you're not in your boots quaking about, oh my God, if I get hit with a right hook from Pat Maroon, I'm going to be out for a month. You feel that way if you're going in with Reeves, man. Reeves could still throw. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not to get off on a tangent. I just think it's a very interesting way to look at the effect of a player who doesn't show up on the score sheet very often, but the actual effect that he can have on a team. And I think a lot of the times that gets overlooked. Now, granted, I'm not saying the minus 207 that he was when he was playing for the Leafs. Ryan Reeves this year so far has been a dramatic fall off of what he was last year. But I'm just saying, if you get a player like a Ryan Reeves who's able to still play and skate at an NHL level and compete on a regular basis, he makes a difference in the lineup, man.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think before we go any further, we got to talk about the elephant in the room, don't we?
Yeah. You want to break that in?
So the Maple Leafs finally this past week put Ilya Samsonov on waivers. And listen, I have been, I don't want to say extremely hard, but I've been vocal of my criticism of him in goal. And I think it's well-deserved. I saw a stat last week that said he had the lowest save percentage through 15 games since 2006, and it was Dan Kluche. And then if you went back for Maple Leaf goalies, it was like Alan Bester in 1990 or 1989. And, if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, I think it was time. Like my daughter, Kara, and we do her show Weekly. And, 3 weeks ago, Kara said to me, Dad, he can't play anymore. This is not it for him with us. He can't keep going in net because we can't keep having to score 5 goals a game to win. We can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm okay. I think it was, 3 weeks late, but I mean, I suppose better late than never.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. It was the right call, put him on waivers, send him down the HL at least to try to get him back to his game. And you know what? I kind of feel bad for him because he's the goalie that was in net, got us past the first round for first time in 19 years or whatever. So I kind of have like a soft spot in my heart for him just because he's like that guy that was in there. But so yeah, you kind of hope that he can get back to form somehow. That'd be a pretty cool story.
Well, I mean, so I'm going to give you a different take. And if you've been watching this podcast a long time, you've probably heard me say this before. If you actually go back and look at Samsonov's last year, Samsonov had a Vezina-like 2-month run in November and December where he was lights out, all world, arguably a top 2 goaltender in the NHL. He was lights out, fantastic. And then from January on, if you actually go back and pull his stats and you look at everything, he's essentially a 500 goalie. He was okay. He was fine. Like, he wasn't detrimental necessarily, but he wasn't elite by any stretch.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. To me, what this year, let's call it, the first 40 games of the season or 35 games of the season, what I think this says more than anything is that Washington knew what the hell they were doing. I had this conversation with a couple of people and I said, NHL franchises don't draft and develop goaltenders and then let them walk at 24 unless there's something wrong. And so I look at the fragility that he seems to have. And again, I don't know if there's something going on personally in his life. I hope not. I hope everything's fine. But as a professional athlete, as well as I do, 95% of the game is mental. Everybody that's playing in the NHL has the skill set. Like, you're not good by accident and just kind of, found your way into the league, right? Everybody's got skill. Everybody's elite. Everybody can do things that the average guy can only dream about. It's the guys that have it up here and know that I can tune this out, I can tune that out, and I can play, and I can count on me. Those are the guys that can continually do well. And, I think there's a certain validation to Washington for the decision that they made.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, teams fumble players all the time, like letting guys go. Like,
fair. Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah.
So it's hard to say or project like who's gonna be good, who's gonna be bad in the future. So no one's ever gonna be perfect with that. Every team has guys that go away and end up doing good or good calls when they let them go. But I just wanted to ask you, what do you think? Do you think the Toronto media, or if there's like a Leafs curse that goes on to goalies? Because Samsonov this year, and then Jack Campbell moved on recently, obviously, and then they're both in the AHL now.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Okay, so here's my opinion on that. I think that is anybody that actually believes that. My opinion is that's pure muffin fanatics. Everybody needs to take a deep breath. Let's remember in this offseason, Ilya Samsonov went to arbitration and said, here's what I'm worth. He wanted the money. He wanted the contract. And I'm sorry, man, but when you ask for the money, you get the scrutiny. That's part and parcel to being a professional athlete. No one, and I mean nobody, when he was in arbitration demanding more money, said, he's a poor guy. He's got a family and I really hope everything's okay. No, everybody was like, you know what? He's an athlete. He, get what you can get. That's what the market's going to pay you. You think that's what you're worth. Okay, great. You do you. Just perform. Ilya Samsonov comes in and gives us NHL average goaltending. The media says nothing. He says nothing. He gets a cakewalk, right? You don't have to be all world. There's very few Gilmores. There's very few Clarks where it does not matter what they do. You get a pass for life. They didn't even win, and they get passes for life, right? But as a pro athlete, I'm sorry, man, you're held accountable for your performance. This isn't like grade 7 Timbit hockey where, everybody gets a turn, the buzzer goes, the next shift comes on, that's sorry, man. That is not what this is about. I don't think it's the media. Anybody who says it's the Toronto media has never been a baseball player in New York, has never been a soccer player in England, right? Like the media is the media wherever you are, wherever you have interest. If you're a New York Yankees fan, you're going to see Giancarlo Stanton in New York. He gets roasted, $250 million, and he can't play more than 50 games in a season. How do you think it's going for him? Right? You know what I mean? David Beckham takes a red card in the semifinals of the World Cup. He almost got kicked out of the country because of the media. So I think when I hear like this, the Toronto media is so bad and the big bad, you know what? At a certain point, there was, I don't know if you caught a lot of it, but when they kept sending Samsonov out after the game to meet the media, and the media were asking him questions, and even Kara said to me one day, she was like, "Dad, it looks like he's gonna cry." Like he was a defeated soldier, he was a beaten man, and listen, personally, do you look at that situation and go, ugh, feel bad for that guy? Yeah. I do. I do. I'm not heartless. I feel bad for the guy, but at the same point in time, this is your job, dude. This isn't a stroll through, Yorkville on a Sunday afternoon, right? You got to show up and you got to play, and you got to be accountable. I think that's when you sign the contract, that's part of what you sign for. Ask Austin Matthews right now how he feels, because guess what? That guy's leading the league in scoring. He's blocking shots. He's coming back. He's defending. He's doing absolutely everything you could possibly ask of that guy. How's the media treating him? Pretty good, right? Nobody's saying anything. Nobody's saying anything negative about Austin Matthews. You know why? He's delivering. So, I don't know. Like I have a tough time when I hear people always complain and this and that about the media. The media is going to be hard on you if you don't perform.
Yeah, I think the main argument is just like if he's making $3.5 million in Toronto and playing the same, say he has the same numbers and the same contracts, but he's playing in Florida or Dallas or Nashville or something like that. Do you think he's going to be getting the same scrutiny in the media?
No, because Florida has, in order for Florida to make money. Listen, they were in the playoffs last year, and they had to put in a geo block on tickets because they were scared that the Leafs were going to overtake their building in the playoffs. People in Florida don't care. People in Dallas don't care. People in Arizona don't care. If you want to play for those teams and you want to live that lifestyle, then great. Go play in Arizona. Go play in Florida. If you want to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you get everything that comes with that. You get the possibility to be the king of the world on the most important team in the most important market in hockey. That's the reality.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
You get the good and the bad.
You get the good and the bad with it. And you know what? A lot of guys can't take that. But you know what? I look at, I'll use a baseball analogy with Derek Jeter. Who has ever said a negative thing? Like, it's New York, the harshest media that there is. And Derek Jeter is universally loved. Why? Because he won. He didn't make excuses. He won. And when he didn't live up to the standard, you know what he did? He didn't come out like John Tavares and go, we're going to learn from this. We're going to learn from this. Press rewind. We're going to learn from this. And keep saying the same thing over. He was accountable. And he said, here's what I need to be better at. I'm the leader of this team. Here's what I need to do. I need to make sure. And he took accountability. And I think, for Leaf fans, that have watched this team for a long period of time, we don't have that. We haven't had that in a long time. It is, it's always about we're growing, we're learning. The coach doesn't want to take accountability. He keeps, running through the same things all over again. So I hear the media stuff. I don't buy it. I think if a player's fragile mentally, eventually he's going to get exposed, whether it's in Minnesota, Tampa, or Toronto. Let's not forget, Washington is hardly a hotbed of hockey, and Washington walked away. The other thing that everybody has to remember is any team in the NHL could have picked up Samsonov, and every team passed on him in free agency. He signed here for a league minimum deal because we were in a cap crunch and we needed a league minimum goalie. So let's not pretend like we brought him in like he was the answer.
Yeah. Well, I think he had a couple more options, maybe. I think he just chose the Leafs because they seemed like the best opportunity for him.
Hey, why not? No. And listen, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is he was getting league minimum deals elsewhere too. So it wasn't like teams were falling over him to get him, right?
Yeah.
With regards to Campbell, man, I wish I knew what the answer was there. You know what? And maybe the answer is sometimes guys just lose it.
Yeah, I know it's unfortunate. He seemed like he came out of the AHL, was finally going to become what he was meant to be, like 11th overall pick.
But remember, he struggled. Like again though, like to be fair on Campbell struggled while he was in LA, right? Like he was not. Mm-hmm. He was given multiple chances and he could never take the reins. I mean, I really shouldn't say that because he had Quick in front of him, right? So it wasn't like he was supplanting Quick. But, he was given opportunities in LA to play and he could never really take that rein and run with it. And if we're going to be very honest about Jack Campbell kind of did the same thing that Samsonov did. He had an all-world couple months where he was lights out.
I was thinking that when you were talking about Samsonov.
You go back to that November, December run of Campbell, maybe even into a little bit of January there, and he was lights out. But remember, he got picked and he played in the All-Star game. And by the time the All-Star game came around, everybody was starting to go like, I don't know, man, he's looking a little, and he never ever got back to anywhere near that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Jack Campbell was nowhere near what Samsonov turned into, right? Jack Campbell was still a serviceable goaltender for us. Even, in the playoffs, he, gave up the bad goal at the bad time, right? But, that's a guy I like Jack Campbell. There's nothing not to like about Jack Campbell. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. But as Don Cherry said, there's lots of nice guys in the American Hockey League.
Yeah. So I just pulled up the stats for the Jack Campbell 2021-22 season for by month.
Yeah.
October 918, November 959.
December was good.
December 909, January 880, February 894.
That's what I'm saying.
March 845.
So that's my whole point, though.
Significant. So 2 different goals there.
When everybody goes back and we think about Jack Campbell, everybody goes back to that early October, November, and we banked points. We banked so many points that we coasted for the rest of the year. If you go back last year with Samsonov, right? Samsonov had ridiculous numbers. We banked points and we coasted, which is part of the reason why I was so mad that the coach kept playing guys like 40-year-old Gio 20 minutes a night, burning him out when we already had our playoff spot guaranteed and locked in, and then we got to the playoffs and Gio spent because he's an old man who was playing 20 minutes a night in games that didn't matter to functionally change where we were in the standings. Yeah. But I digress on the coach again. That's my 2 cents there. But no, I like as far as the media goes, listen, it's the good and the bad. You come to Toronto and you perform, and I guarantee you, man, you will Ask Wendell Clark what Wendell Clark thinks about the Toronto media. No problems, right? Ask Doug Gilmore what he thinks. No problems. You know why? Those guys gave everything every night, and no one ever went, you know what? Wendell didn't look like he was back checking on that goal. It didn't look like he was skating hard. It looked like he kind of took a shift off there, and then we got, 2 power play goals scored against us. Never happened, right? So, you know what? I go back to, you earn your reputation. You earn what you get. And if you think that the press is unfairly harsh on you, I don't know. I would like to say, maybe look in the mirror a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think we should move on now to talk about your thoughts on Dennis Hildeby, the Leafs.
The Hildebeest.
Hildeby. They called him up from the AHL recently, and he's joining the team on the California trip coming up.
Okay, so let me ask you first, because
yeah.
I have some thoughts on this. There was a lot of discussion about what to do and if this was the right move. Kids played. Listen, so for those of you who haven't seen him play or don't know very much about him, 6'7", dude's a monster. Played in the AHL. He's been one of the top goaltenders in the American Hockey League this year. However, the flip side to this equation is 15, 17 pro games in his career. I'm not sure where he's from. Europe. I know he's European.
Swedish.
He's Sweden, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting the monster part too. Shout out to Jonas Gustafsson. But there is some fear that the Maple Leafs are going to do very Maple Leafy things here and bring this kid up, expose him with a porous defense, and kill this kid's confidence early on in his career, and we lose him. That's the critique. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So they're probably playing Jones tonight in LA, right?
You got to play Jones tonight against LA. You don't throw the kid against the Kings.
Because then you got LA or San Jose, Anaheim coming up.
Yeah, Anaheim tomorrow. I think he'll get the Anaheim game.
Yeah. Okay. So just looking over his numbers quickly, he's 7-5-3 in the AHL this year with a 919 and a 220 goals against average, which is pretty good for the first year in the AHL. Like you said, 6'7", 22 years old. I think they should probably play him against Anaheim or San Jose, because realistically they should win that game, even though they struggle against bad teams. You'd hope that they put in a good effort in front of him. And we called up Joseph Wall a couple of times, and he got shelled a couple of times, but it doesn't seem like it really affected him.
Now, the difference with Wall is Wall did have a little bit of pedigree in North America, right?
Yeah.
So listen, I'm of the mindset, and again, it's kind of like what we spoke to earlier. If I'm looking at this as a complete positive, I don't think there's a negative to it. I think if you want to view this negatively, you're going to view it negatively. I try to view it positively. I look at it as I say, if he comes in and even let's say he gets shelled, let's say he comes in, he gives up 5 goals and looks, very average. You know what? It's a taste. And sometimes, as a pro, I'm just thinking, if it was me and I was in the American Hockey League and I had just started, but I had earned the call up. Nobody gave me the call up. I earned it, right? Things had to happen with the big club that, aren't great, but I am now the option that is there. I want that opportunity, right? I think he's as a young kid, you want to get up, and it's not like you're just in Toronto. You're going to be on the flight with the boys. You're going to be able to go on a pro road trip. You're going to, I really think that, hanging out with an Austin Matthews, being in the same room with Mitch Marner and William Nylander and all those guys. I think that's a big deal for these kids.
Yeah, extra
coming up.
motivation too.
You know what I mean?
I want
you
this to be
want to
my-
impress. You
Yeah.
want to impress, and you
You
want
want
to
that to
give
be
your
your
best.
you want that to be your everyday lifestyle. Yeah.
Dude, 100%. And let's be honest. If you're like the league minimum, I think is say 775, 785 or whatever. But that's your NHL minimum. If you sign a pro deal, that might be what your NHL deal is. But in the minors, you're making 82,000, give or take, on that 775, right?
Yeah.
So, you're getting a taste, but you're getting a taste at real money too.
Yeah.
Right? You're getting real money. You're getting first class airfare. You're not riding the bus. You know what I mean? You're getting shown this is, you want to be here, you want to earn your way here. This is how to do it. I think it's going to be real motivational for him. Listen, for anybody that's critical of Dennis Hildeby getting a shot, I just want you to ask yourself, in all sincerity, would you rather have the kid or Samsonov right now? And if the answer is 1/10 of a percentage of you going, well, then the answer is Hildeby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
where I'm at with him. I like it. I'd say give the kid a chance.
Yeah. The way I look at it too is, would you rather just give this 6'7" beast a chance against the Anaheim Ducks in early January, or go out and trade a first-round pick for a rental goalie, and then just have a guy in playing in the minors that could be serviceable? Like,
You know what? Let's find out what we have first.
Exactly. Yeah.
Before
you go and panic and trade for some rental goalie like Fleury or something like that. Yeah.
Listen, and I think if I remember, Fleury wasn't crazy on playing here to begin with. Because remember, we were trying to acquire him with Chicago, and he ended up going to Minnesota. But like, we had a deal, but he didn't really want to come, and I don't know if it was his wife didn't want him to play in Canada or something. There was stuff going on. I could be wrong, but I feel like I'm right. So, and listen, Fleury's now 2 years older, and he's not even starting for Minnesota. So, like, let's not pretend like we're getting Marc-Andre Fleury from Pittsburgh 10 years ago, right? Now, granted, Nolan, I think I'd rather have you in net than Samsonov. So, at that point in time, we can have that discussion for another day. But no, I listen. There is nobody service. There's so many. I don't know what's going on with goaltending in the NHL this year, but there are so many teams that are looking for legit goaltending. There's very few Vasilevskis and Shesterkins and what's his name in
Hellebuck,
or who's the Rangers goalie? Slipping my mind. So who's the guy on the island then?
Sorokin,
Shesterkin. Let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, there's and it's going to sound crazy. It would cost you a pretty penny.
Yeah.
But if you could, UC Soros, man.
Yeah, but the Preds are doing good this year. Like they really turned up recently.
Listen, and I get it. I'm just saying, if there's one guy who I think you could get, and listen, I know what have you done for me lately, and Nashville hasn't been great. I don't think it's a UC Soros problem. He's always a guy I've liked, man. There's something about that guy. I love the way he plays. He's a battler.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's undersized too. He's 5'11". I think he's one of the smaller.
He is little. He is little. Like next to Dennis, like Dennis Hildeby would look like his dad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's a huge difference there. So yeah, no, it's not going to happen, and the contract's prohibitive. I'm just saying, in a perfect world, that's the kind of guy I'd like to see us get.
Yeah,
say la vie.
Yeah. Yeah, a certified starter for the Leafs would be ideal, instead of having to get new starters every year and have them perform. Hopefully, Joe can be that guy.
So let me ask you this hypothetically, and like, what happens? Let's say, for example, Dennis Hildeby comes up and his lights out. Like, do we keep and do we just run with Dennis Hildeby? Like, even when Joe Wall comes back, if Dennis Hildeby is lights out, like, because here's the thing. Martin Jones can't go on. If we put him back to the minors, once he plays 10 games, he's got to clear waivers again. Right? So if he's not going to be, he'll be at 10 games by the time Wall comes back. He might even be 10 games now. So in order to put him down, he's going to have to go through waivers again. Wall does not have to go through waivers, I don't think.
Yeah. Okay.
So if Hildeby lights it up,
yeah. Well, if
Hildeby
comes out and lights it up, you have to run with him because
I'm good with that too.
Yeah, you go with who's hot, and even when Wall comes back, you either figure out something with Jones, either you find a way to work with the cap so you can keep all three of them up, or send someone down. But I don't know. At this point of the season, I think you just go with who's hot, and if Hildeby's giving you the numbers that you need, then I think you just got to keep him in there.
Okay. No, I'm totally okay with that. I'm a firm believer in ride the hot hand. Yeah. Ride it till the wheels fall off. Yeah. If you remember, it is why in the beginning of the year I was so mad when we were at the end of that road trip, and I think we were playing Nashville. And Joe Wall he was on a heater of heaters. He was playing lights out. And it was the last game of a 5 or 6 game road trip. And Wall had played, he was like a 940 save percentage over the last 5 or 6 games. And he was playing fantastic. And we sat him so we could start Samsonov, and we got beat. And I thought, to me, you ride the hot hand. You're going to have 4 days off, but c'est la vie. It is what it was.
Yeah.
And, we are where we are. So, listen, here's something that I wanted to ask your opinion on. And I'm really torn on this. It's Mitch Marner. And I'm looking at his stats. And statistically, he's having a Mitchy kind of year. Like the goals, he's still trending. He's going to be a 30-goal scorer, at the end of the year. He's probably going to be in that 85 to 99 to 100 point season again, which is great, right? Like, I think it's like numbers wise, it's hard to argue because the numbers are going to be there in the end. But I'm watching him play, and specifically in these last 2 games, I've seen him like just not skate. Like, and be directly accountable for his player on the ice scoring goals, where he's just not in. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say not interested, because I feel like then I'm questioning his everything, and that's not what I mean. Yeah. But it just looks like there's something missing with Marner, and I don't know what it is, and I don't like it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him. I want my Mitch Marner to be having fun and being happy and being engaged and, vision on the ice and all of that good stuff. And I don't see that from him now. And I want to find a way to get Mitch Marner back, because I feel like there's something that's just missing.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that too. I feel like this season he's kind of just flown under the radar. 38 points in 34 games.
That's what I mean. Like, you can't argue with, I'm not arguing the numbers, right? Like, the numbers are there. And listen, nobody's going to say that Mitch Marner is not an elite talent. The guy's fantastic. But there's some like the mental lapses in the game where, you know what? Don't make the extra pass, Mitch. You know what I mean? Or shoot the puck. Like, I feel like when Mitch Marner was playing at his best last year, Mitch Marner was shooting the puck. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's getting back, or kind of drifting back into that on the power. Want to know why the power play? My opinion, the power play is struggling because nobody thinks Mitch Marner is going to shoot the puck. Mm-hmm. Nobody thinks he's going to shoot it. He's going to skate around, and he's going to try to force feed Matthews. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I mean, like, listen, that overtime, or was it the overtime? No, it wasn't. It was the goal against Carolina, the empty netter, where we were pressing, and I don't know what was going through his mind, but he makes the blind backhand behind the back pass to Nylander at the point that gets intercepted, that I could have intercepted in men's league hockey, right? And gone down. Like we all saw the whole play coming. And like I see stuff like that, and I'm going like, that can't, like, you're in the league 8 years now. You know what I mean? You're not a rookie anymore. You can't keep making these mistakes. The puck gets turned over, it goes down the ice, and it gets scored. So now, this leads into, you know, another thing that we wanted to bring up tonight, the benching of David Kampf. I'm curious as to your feelings on the benching of David Kampf, and what you think about that, and whether it was warranted or the effect it had. Because, I know I got an opinion on it.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly just give my 2 cents on this before you jump on. But yeah, I saw before the game that he was a healthy scratch, and I don't know. I kind of just a head scratcher. I thought I don't know. I think if you scratching guys, it should be your top guys, not like bottom 6 role player. Like, I don't think that they have that much of an impact on the game for them to be healthy scratched, to like send a message to the whole team. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. I'm with you.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now I want to hear your thoughts.
So here's what I functionally don't understand. I watched this whole thing go down, and listen, I have been advocating for a long period of time for the coach to bench some players. If you're not happy with the performance of a player, you bench him. The only thing a head coach can control is ice time. Really, at the end of the day, he can control ice time. That's about it. Once you're on the ice and you're doing your thing, you know, there's a lot of it that's out of the coach's hand. However, if you allow the players to do the same thing again and again and again and again with no repercussions or no demotions or no critical changes to their performance, then don't be surprised when nothing changes. And so I listened to Keefe and his explanation, and his explanation was, we are not a team that's ever going to be giving up turnovers anymore. Turnovers are going to be important. I mean, sure. Listen, I'm not angry with the fact that the coach is pissed off that we're turning the puck over. I'm not angry with that at all. But here's the thing. Perennially, we've been a team that turns the puck over all the time, right?
Yeah.
We play pond hockey with the best of them.
Yeah.
You've been here 5 years. 5 years. This has been the same problem all the way along. And now you're going to make a stand. Okay, so now, listen, and I'm even okay with that. If you decide you finally had enough and you're going to make a stand, I'm okay with that. But here's the thing. You're playing the Carolina Hurricanes, who've had the best power play in the NHL over the last month. And you decide that you're going to take your preeminent penalty killer out of the game because he turned the puck over at a crucial time the game before.
The same guy that you started every overtime.
That's a very good point. The same guy that you put out because he was a defensive stalwart in overtime when nobody understood why you were doing that either. But that's a story for another day. But you take him out of the game. Now, here's the thing. You better bloody well win that game. But you don't. And how do you lose? You lose by 2 power play goals. I say again, I've said it before, I'll say it a billion times. The only thing that the coach is really, truly responsible for is putting his team in the best possible position to win hockey games. And time and again, I don't see it with him. I really don't. And like, this is like example, if I was going to a jury and we were in court, I'd be like, the state would like to present exhibit 2.9 billion of why Sheldon Keefe should not be our coach, but I digress. I think it was, listen, I think it was it might have been a good move. Listen, I'm not, I've been advocating for a while that you got to sit some players, but time and place, man. And this was not the right player. It was not the right time. It was not the right place. So I look at it. I'm not surprised. I think the other thing that it really reminded me of, for those people that follow the Leafs closely, I'm going to remind you or want you to go back to that Showtime or HBO series that was done a couple years ago, and they had them riding with the team for the year, and I forget what the series was called.
Amazon. It was Amazon.
Oh, it was Amazon. You're right. It wasn't HBO. It was Amazon. You're right. And there was this one scene where the Leafs were going through a rather tough patch in the season. And listen, it wasn't this particular player that was just struggling. The whole team was struggling. But Sheldon Keefe decided he was going to go off on Jimmy Vesey, fourth line player, and made an example out of him in practice and then sat him. And the net effect of Jimmy Vesey being out of the lineup was about what you would expect the benching of a fourth line hockey player to be. They put in the next guy who played 9 minutes a game, and he was fine. And so, you're benching David Kampf, who has been playing fourth line minutes all year and killing penalties. I don't know that the team is getting the message that turnovers are not going to be tolerated when you bench David Kampf. And if we go by the coach's word, how in God's green earth can TJ Brody be in the lineup tonight? Because TJ Brody on Saturday night gave the puck away like he was allergic to it. It was ridiculous. He was by far and away and I like TJ Brody as a defenseman. I like him for what he does. At this age, he's at the back end of his contract. He's overpaid and all that good jazz. But functionally, as a stay-at-home defenseman, I don't mind the guy. But he was terrible on Saturday night. And there have been more than a few nights for TJ Brody this year where he's been the worst player on the ice. And so if you're going to sit David Kampf and say it's because of giveaways and you're not going to tolerate that anymore, you can't put him in the lineup tonight. But I will bet my bottom dollar you will see TJ Brody in the lineup tonight.
Yeah, well, I think it's a little bit different with forwards and defense because you have a lot more forwards you can replace Kampf with, I guess, like Holmberg, McMahon, Steves. But defense is kind of like Benoit, Lagesson.
But hold on. If he's given the puck away and he's a disaster and he's the worst player on the ice, I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying Lagesson is going to be a Norris Trophy winner or Benoit is, the second coming of Ray Bourque.
Right. Send the message, set the tone.
But if you want to send a message that stuff is not tolerable, you sit TJ Brody. Right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And you know what? If you really want to send a message that stuff's not tolerable, you know what? When Mitch Marner decides he's not going to back check and the goal gets scored and you see him out for a Sunday skate, you pin his ass to the bench for the third period. He will never, ever, ever do that. That is not the Sheldon Keefe way. You got to remember, this is the same guy who came out last year and said, we lost the game because our top players didn't perform. He wasn't wrong. He was telling the truth. But the very next day, walked it back and said the media misinterpreted what he was saying because he didn't want to hurt players' feelings. I don't know what to tell you there. I look at it and I think that's Sheldon Keefe. Everybody knows my feelings on this coach. Aside from Samsonov, going to the minors, which was a fantastic Happy New Year present. The only other thing that could make me happier, Nolan, would be to find out that you or Johnny Mac were taking over the reins, and running the team. So
yeah.
Yeah, I listen. I didn't like it. I think it's Mickey Mouse. I think if you're gonna say something and you're gonna do it, you better hold tight to it. And the last I looked when I saw the afternoon skate, Brody was in the lineup. Makes me question, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, going back to the Keefe firing, I think it was the 30th, 29th or 30th, and Jan texted our group chat and saying that Keefe's going to be gone by the first. Just kind
Listen,
of caught me off guard because he likes Keefe as a coach.
listen, John, and listen, John has been, and I don't want to talk for him while he's not here, but John has been a huge proponent of Sheldon Keefe, right? John, he's liked a lot of what he's done, and he, and listen, we have differing opinions, right, on it, and that's okay. But he's given a lot of the benefit of the doubt to him. But I think even John is starting to wonder now with some of the stuff. And you know what?
Do you take credit for that?
Oh, listen, what I will take credit for is there's a boatload of Facebook groups, and since the Montreal series, I have called Sheldon Keefe the AHL coach. And if you notice on Facebook, there is a certain amount of people referring to him as the AHL coach, and I do take full credit for that. So yeah, I'm kind of proud of that one. But no, listen, my thoughts on the coach haven't changed. In fact, if anything, they've solidified. I don't think he's the right guy for this team at this particular time. And again, be very clear. I am not saying Sheldon Keefe is a terrible NHL head coach. He may be a great coach. I'm just telling you, for this team, he's not the guy.
Yeah. I think we talk for another hour or two about Keefe.
No, easy.
Yeah.
Don't get me going. Let me talk to you about why Alexander Galchenyuk was on the ice in that overtime period. But anyways, we'll save that. We'll save that for another show.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into this particular road trip. We've got the West Coast. West Coast is always tough for us. I don't care when we go on the West Coast. They're like Buffalo and Ottawa. They always play us tough. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We got the Kings tonight. We got Anaheim tomorrow.
Yep.
And the Shark Tank on Saturday.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you feel like we're coming out of this one with?
Well, it's okay. So Kings they're gonna be the toughest match of the trip, obviously. Anaheim and San Jose are both in their rebuilding stages. But with that being said, the Leafs will probably lose to Anaheim and San Jose and beat LA tonight. But okay. I'll go 4 points.
You're gonna go 4? Okay.
Yeah, 2-1.
Who do we get the 2 wins against?
I'll go LA and San Jose.
Okay.
Lose the Ducks tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna surprise you here. I think that this road trip is really going to be a gut check. This is a gut check time for the Maple Leafs. And we're really, really going to find out who this team is over the next 3 games. I don't want to overblow it, but I really think the next 3 games are really going to determine what happens over the upcoming time.
Why do you say that?
Well, here's the reality. We have not been good the last little bit.
No.
And listen, a lot of it is based on the goaltending that we've got. If we're going to be honest about it, you score 5 goals, you should win a hockey game in the NHL, right? Yeah. That's the reality. We lost a couple of games where, if we had, Alan Bester or Ken Reggett playing in, mid-90s hockey, we win those hockey games. And so I have to believe that we're just going to be in a mental space. We're going to be a better team, knowing that if the first goal goes in, you don't think that the next 5 shots are also going in, and I really think, man, if you looked at some of those early goals that went in, you just saw the whole bench just go like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, and back to the coach, I can't figure out in a lot of those games, why the coach just left him in. Like again, your job is to put the team in the best position to win. And, every point counts. It's not about, making the goalie feel good. I'm sorry. It's just not. If he doesn't have it, it's not his night. Get the next guy in. Like that's my attitude, at least.
Yeah.
I like us in LA tonight. I feel like we're going to come out tonight. The way we've played, we've lost the games. We tend to elevate our game against the better teams. So I like us against LA. The real test, and I'm sincere on this. I see what team shows up on tomorrow night when Hildeby goes up.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple of times where when Samsonov started, I thought, boy, man, wouldn't it be nice to see this team play defensive hockey tonight? Just really everybody back. And you know what? If you got to win the game 2-1 and you got to block 39 shots to get that, then do it. Do whatever it takes to get this guy's confidence back and show that you're a team and that you can play a different style. And I didn't see it.
Well, I thought we had a game like that a couple weeks ago. In that, I think we were playing Nashville, 4-0 win with Sammy in net.
Listen, we played great. Now that night, to be fair, they hit 3 goalposts.
Yeah, but
with Sammy in net. So to be fair, but like the other night we lost 6-5, but we gave up 20 shots. That's not a bad defensive game. If listen, you give up 20 shots in the NHL, you should win that game 98% of the time.
Yeah,
you just should, right? Like you give up 20 shots and you score 5 goals and you lose, that can't happen, right? So, I really want to see what if we show up for Hildeby. I really think that's going to tell you what the makeup of this hockey team is. It's a microcosm, and I get it, but you're going to find out are the boys in? Are they in? Because if they come out and they play pond hockey and they hang this kid out to dry, boy, we got big problems. We have massive problems.
Yeah.
I'm going to err on the positivity side, and I'm going to say that I don't think that's going to happen. I think the boys are going to come out, and I think that they're going to play a very, very strong defensive-minded game. I think they're going to protect Hildeby. I think Hildeby is going to be asked to make, a couple of big saves, but he's not going to be asked to win the game. And because of that, I think when we play responsibly defensively, offense tends to flow out of that. And so for that reason, I'm going to say, this might be the very first time I've ever predicted this on TML Weekly. I'm taking the Leafs for a full 6 points.
Ooh, clean sweep, eh?
Clean sweep on the West Coast. I think it's going to cool the pressure that's on the coach. Because for the first time in a long time, I think there's a lot of questions being asked about the coach that are not being asked by me, but are legitimately now started to being asked by other people.
Yeah.
I think the seat's getting a little warm.
I think you're the trailblazer. You're the one.
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think
media.
This is my small contribution to Leaf Nation.
Getting the coach fired.
But no, honest to God, I really feel like this is going to be a real litmus test for us. This next week is about as crucial a week as we've had in the last couple of years. I really feel that way. I think this is going to be Tree Living is going to learn a lot on this road trip about what this team is and what this team needs, and if we have the right pieces.
Yeah, it's also good too because it's a road trip, so you can see the boys what they're doing.
Everybody's away, the pressure of the home, the kids, and everything else. That's
who's going out for dinner, who's going out to the beach, whatever.
Yeah, no, 100. And listen, and you know what? Maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to get away. Maybe there's I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm not with the team every day. I'm only going by what we see on the TV. Yeah. And what we see is we see a team that's kind of stuck in neutral. And Boston looks good, and Florida looks good.
Boston's cooled off a lot since the start, but yeah, it
Yeah.
happens teams, but
Listen, Boston's cooled off a lot.
yeah.
But until Boston says they're not Boston anymore, they're still Boston.
Yeah, they're still
You know what I mean?
Still the top of the Atlantic.
I still don't want to have to go into a playoff series and play 4 games in the Garden. Right? Like I don't want that. That is not a place that I want to play.
First round, say starts today. Would you rather play Boston or Florida?
Florida. Every day. Every day. And it might, you know what? It could also, now to be fair, it could be psychological. I could just be so emotionally scarred from playing Boston that I think you know what? Here's something to think about. Maybe we'll address this next week on the podcast. Do we really match up against either team very well? Like if we got to play Tkachuk or we got to play Pasternak, I
think I think Tree Living went and got Bertuzzi, Domi, Reeves for that matchup because in the playoffs, Bertuzzi, Tkachuk take each other out of the way, kind of. Even though Kachuk's better, obviously, but just say like Bertuzzi and Domi are kind of like Tkachuk and Bennett in a way,
No, I don't. No. Listen,
yeah.
Listen. I can get with you on a lot of things. I've watched Tyler Bertuzzi play this year, and
you see him in the playoffs last year, though.
But listen,
that he's saving for that.
But listen, that's 7. Like, listen, he was great. Don't get, and I am not taking away from the Tyler Bertuzzi performance in the playoffs. Tyler Bertuzzi for Boston last year was lights out. 7 games. I've watched him play 35 for the Maple Leafs, playing with 2 NHL All-Stars. And I've watched him play with Austin Matthews. I've watched him play with Mitch Marner. I don't see it. I don't listen. 5 and change for that guy.
Yeah.
No, he's not that guy. And Ty Domi's kid. Listen, does he do nice things offensively? Yeah. And I've been impressed with his playmaking. His playmaking has been great. Defensively, he's been a nightmare. I don't know that I need more defensive problems in the playoffs in a tight checking game. I don't know that I want Max Domi out in those situations. Would I like to see Tyler Bertuzzi be more Tage Thompson? Yeah, probably. Do I think he's going to get there? I've seen nothing from Tyler Bertuzzi this year that makes me think that all of a sudden we're going to get, the Tyler Bertuzzi World Tour again. The crazy part is, I don't know why. His skating seems fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's not shooting the puck as much.
Yeah, I saw a stat on Sportsnet the other night on the broadcast, and it said I think he's a number one on the Leafs for like most high danger chances missed, like opportunities missed. Like he's getting opportunities, I guess, but just not being able to finish.
Like Hanson Stone, he's reminding me of Nick Ritchie.
Yeah.
And listen, nobody was as bad as Nick Ritchie. But
no, do you see what happened with him over in Europe?
No, what happened?
He just started pounding on this guy's head in the corner. 8-game suspension.
Nick Ritchie.
Yeah,
good for you, Nick Ritchie. Show him the life.
European guy who just mind his own business, trying to get past him. Nick Ritchie grabbed him, started feeding him in the head, got him on the ice, took his helmet off, kept feeding him. 8 games.
Well, let's hope that there was an unkind word spoken at some point in time that led him to that, and that Nick Ritchie didn't just snap one day and just I'm playing in Finland.
Yeah, should have taken him over Nylander. Cherry said.
Jeez Louise, hey. All right, well, listen, as always, shout out to our sponsors, Don Cherry Sports Bar and Grill and Bjorn Hockey. Thank you guys for everything. Johnny Mac will be back with us next week. Nolan, do you want to finish out on anything? Or?
Yeah, yeah, so 3 games this week, California road trip. Just hope the boys can perform and see how Hildeby does tomorrow night when he will likely start. And yeah, see you next Tuesday.
All right, take it easy. Go Leafs, go.